Welcome to the study meeting of May 22nd, 2023. We're going to start the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilman Scott Barr. Please rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Barr. Tonight is a study meeting for the 1,970th regular meeting, which will be a voting meeting and taking place on Monday, June 5th of 2023. Tonight, there will be no votes taken, but the members of the council may offer resolutions approving, denying, or referring to a particular committee. Those items will be officially voted on June 5th at that regular meeting. We're going to start tonight by going directly to audience communication. The council has set aside up to 30 minutes, with each member of the audience having up to 3 minutes to address the council on any items not on the agenda this evening. Mr. Martin, your name and address, please.
Christopher Martin, once again, the great state of Michigan. And just a comment from last meeting. This is in reference to the Noble Library and the mold over there. That occurred because the individual in charge was not monitoring anything. That's how that took place. I don't need to see a stained ceiling tile not to know that that's a water leak. It's almost like common sense. As far as a couple of meetings ago, a gal on the Library Commission paid a compliment to this woman because she had cleaned the air ducts at the Civic Center Library over there for the first time in 35 years, and that was supposed to be something to be praised. I thought that really explains who we put in charge, okay? How they ever get in charge, okay? So now it'll cost a great deal of money because it costs less money to knock the building down over there, the library, than to repair it. Why did that happen? Years of neglect, years of incompetence. And that's the actual truth, people that are watching this out in TV land. The characters that are sitting here, supposed to represent you, do not know their job. Some of them have been there a long time and have no clue. Thank you for this opportunity of free speech.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else from the audience? Okay, we will go directly to the council. I'll get us started tonight. I'll note that we have 6 members of the council here present. We're missing Kathleen McIntyre. She is the council's representative on the pension board, and she is away currently at the MAPERS Pension Conference, studying up and getting more information to do that job and that role better. Do my council colleagues have anything to say this evening? I see none. We'll go right into the agenda. This is a study meeting. Item number 1 is a block party request from Ray Franges to be held on Saturday, August 19th, 2023 from 3 p.m. to 10 p.m. on Brentwood Street between Meadowlark and Jacqueline Streets with a rain date of Sunday, August 20th, 2023. Is Ray Franges here?
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Barr?
They do this is my old neighborhood. They do this block party every year, going back years. I know we typically want someone to be here, but there's never been an issue, and all for approving for consent if there's no objection.
Mr. President,
Mr. Donovic?
I'd like to put that on the regular, please. I think it should be normal practice for anybody asking for anything from City Council to make sure they come to the meetings. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any audience comment in regards to item number 1?
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Barr?
One more quick thing, and this is way out of character for me, but I'm looking ahead at the agenda, and I'm comfortable doing this. As you know, I was late to the regular because my daughter's Stevenson tennis banquet. Texting my wife, they're still going on, and I think if I leave now, I can still get back for her to be presented something. So I'm going to slip out, and I hope everybody will understand.
Being a dad comes first.
Thank you.
Okay, so there's no audience comment on item number 1. That will be on the regular agenda. Item number 2 is a request to amend the previously established Commercial Rehabilitation District Number 4 from Paul Bond and Fosson Bond LLP on behalf of Schoolcraft Lodge, Inc., for a 3-year extension of the redevelopment of the property located at 31501 Schoolcraft Road in the northeast quarter of Section 27, noting Council Resolution 306-19. Ms. Toy, for the last time this evening, I'm going to give you the gavel here.
Yes.
I work for the law firm involved here. To avoid an appearance of impropriety, I will be stepping aside, although I do not benefit in any way from this relationship between this petitioner and the firm. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Okay, you've heard item 2 be announced. Council, any comment at this point? If not, is a petitioner here or representative thereof? Good evening.
Good evening, Council.
Your name and address for the record?
My name is Brandon Grisco. I'm an attorney with the law firm Fossil and Bond. We're located at 41700 6 Mile Road in Northville Township.
Thank you, and you're trying to attempt to?
Yes, of course. So in 2019, September, this council was gracious enough to approve a 7-year tax exemption for the property that's noted in the agenda packet. And as the council is aware, that was a 7-year exemption that was granted. As the council is aware, very shortly after that, we got hit with COVID-19. So March 24th, construction was completely shut down. We were unable to do anything with the property at that time. And those conditions continued for quite a while. Since that time, there's been a pretty extraordinary hike in the interest rates, and so bank financing has become increasingly difficult. In addition to that, the overall project costs are estimated to be about 30% higher than what they were when we initially put in the application for the abatement. So because, for the reason that we had difficulties getting started and significant delays and overall increase in construction costs, we're hoping that the council would consider adding 3 years to the exemption that we currently have, of which we have about four years left on or so. And then if council were to amend that to add the 3 years, we would be at the 7 years that council originally approved.
Back in 19, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
And so again, the 3 years that we're asking for here is intended to kind of offset the 3 years that we lost out on by reason of the pandemic and for other delays that occurred.
Thank you. Yes, Councilman Donovan.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. Thank you, Mr. Grisco, for being here tonight. When do you guys anticipate you would start the project?
Well, as council is aware, I think from tonight probably, we had a site plan and a rezoning that just recently came through, so we're in the process of trying to get our building permit package together so that we could submit for that as soon as possible.
Because, so I'm inclined, I'm reading through the packet, and I know the intent of City Council in 2019. They approved the 7-year commercial rehabilitation program, and then a few months later, COVID happens, and there's no one here could have predicted that COVID was going to happen. And of course, the governor shut down the state of Michigan, stopped construction, stopped hospitality companies from operating, so on and so forth. So I'm inclined, I understand the reasoning and why you guys are asking for what you're asking. I mean, there's no way to predict what you did. We're taking an old building. I think, again, the intent, I wasn't on council then. I can't speak for them, but I think the intent was to partner with a family business and try to remedy this old building, rehabilitate it. And the program exists for a reason. I mean, I'm just looking through some basics. I mean, interest rates have increased some 60% since 2019. Construction costs have gone up, labor costs have gone up. So, I mean, I understand why you guys are asking what you're asking. What I don't want to see is that you wait, a year from now. I mean, we just approved it at the previous meeting, so I'd like to see that, and I imagine the petitioners don't want to, right? You want to get on this as fast as possible. I want to see this old building knocked down immediately and start work, especially if this council approves another 3 years.
Councilman, I appreciate the sentiment, and my client's intention certainly is to get started on this as soon as possible. There's, as we said, been significant challenges in getting going here. With the rezoning approved and the site plan being approved by council, that obviously reduces the impediments in our way, and with a grant of these extra years of exemption, that'll certainly go a long way for us. The other thing I just wanted to note for the council is that my client is really dedicated to this community and to having a partnership with the community. The council may or may not be aware, but these same clients have a hotel that they run at 96 in Inkster. It's a Holiday Inn Express, and it's been very successful in that area. the old North American Photo, for those that remember, which sat vacant for a number of years before they rehabilitated it. But they have an extraordinary relationship with our local police. The cameras that are on the buildings there are very frequently sought after by our police department to be utilized in traffic crash investigations and things of that nature. And so my clients really intend to rehabilitate this vacant building and area, redevelop it into a nice development, I think, as the council has seen in the site planning, and then continue that partnership with the community.
Yes, go right ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through the chair to the petitioner. Hey, Brandon, it's just a quick question on this. Do you, with everything asking for the extension, we're going obviously into a new construction season with spring and summer months. Do you have any anticipation of breaking ground this year?
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. I think that's absolutely reasonable, all things considered, although, like I said, there's been still challenges. The finance situation is very challenging with the banks and things like that, but we're moving forward every single way we possibly can. The rezoning was a huge help, the site planning was a huge help, and this would be another step in the right direction.
Thank you. I just, definitely, seeing a project, and I sympathize with COVID, but if this would have been earlier, buckets in the ground, ready to roll, February, with everybody anticipating with the project. I mean, as you probably know, even right now, moving into June, I hate to mention what comes next, but it comes fast. And, I kind of share my colleagues' thoughts on, is this going to be repetitive next year? We're going to be looking at the same thing. At least for right now, we don't have a motion on the table, do we? I'll offer approving for regular, just to give a little bit more time to take a look at things. Thank you.
Certainly. Anyone else? Yeah, go ahead.
Just one more comment. I just want to put it out there. If any member of the council has any additional questions, comments, wants to contact me, I welcome that contact and would be pleased to answer
We
questions.
usually do. Go right ahead.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. To Mr. Tormina, I think is the proper person to ask this question. At the time in 2019, the current taxable value of the real property, excluding the land, was $218,000. Would that have gone up, so that changes the figures of this, of the CREC? Would that change the figures then? You'd have to rework that, or how does that work?
Well,
Since the time has elapsed.
the commercial rehabilitation exemption certificate, what it does is it freezes the taxable value of a portion of the property. So just the real property, does not include the land. So that value, that $218,500, that will be the frozen value through the duration of the certificate, which in this case, if it's extended, would be, I believe, till 2030. The other taxable values of the property will continue to increase. The land value, personal property, and the SEV, of course, will continue to go up. So at the expiration of the certificate, there would be that pop-up. So that would go back to taxes being paid on the full value of the property at that time.
Thank you, Mr. Tormina. Thank you, Madam Vice President.
Mark, to that end, these commercial rehabs, they're a wonderful thing, really, if you use them right. Do we have many? We don't have many of these that we've given out, have we?
There have been 5 districts established and I believe 5 projects.
Okay.
We're just now nearing the end of probably our first commercial rehabilitation certificate, and that was the former Frank's Nursery at Livonia and 5 Mile.
Right.
Others include, some were issued and not approved. Other district established was, of course, the hotel on Victor Parkway, and a few others that don't come to mind immediately.
Yeah, I remember them. Yeah, because I was on the Commerce Committee when we developed these back in Lansing in the good old days.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
PA 210, but I will say, I think to an earlier question from Mr. McCullough regarding the duration and whether or not they could come back and ask for more, the answer is no, 10 years
Right.
is the limit.
Right,
So
limit.
what
Yeah.
they're doing is going from 7 to 10. Your initial approval was for 7 years.
Correct.
Could have been 10 years, so they're just asking for what they could have been entitled to back
Sure,
from in
sure.
2020 when
Yeah.
this was approved, or 2019.
Yeah, it's not totally unreasonable, for sure. And quite frankly, it's a smart business move, really is. And appreciate your comments on it. And if there's no others, right now we have an approving on the regular, and that's where we stand. Is there anyone out in the audience wishing to speak to this before we leave this? Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Okay,
council.
I'm gonna pass back to Gavin.
Thank you, Vice President Toy. Item number 3 is a waiver petition from the Planning Commission, 3 of whom are present here tonight, so we'll try to be nice. Petition 2023040203 submitted by Wade Shows, Inc., requesting waiver use approval to conduct a carnival in the parking lot of the former Sears that would be sponsored by the Livonia AM Rotary, consisting of rides, games, food, concessions, from July 13th through July 23rd of 2023 at 29500 7 Mile Road. That's in the southwest quarter of section number 2. Notification to attend was sent, and I see it arrived. Good evening.
Good evening.
Go
Good
ahead.
evening. I'm Joanna Hardesty with Wade Shows.
I'm Pat Zukel, representing the Livonia AM Rotary Club.
Okay, so this is what you have been doing for years, and
Yeah.
is there any amendment to previous plans or operations?
Nothing changed at all. Last year, we moved it to later in the year to July. We were doing it around Memorial Day. Last year, we moved it a little bit later, and that worked well for us, so we're gonna continue with that again this year.
Mr. Chair.
Ms. Toy?
If I may, these fine people have done a wonderful job over there. It doesn't bang into Spree at all, because otherwise you'd have a little problem, but, short of that, they've done a wonderful job, and, the AM Rotary does terrific work for our community, so I'm gonna ask for an approving, and if it can go on consent, that's fine, if my colleagues don't have objection to that.
Mr. McCullough?
Thank you, Council President. Through the chair to the petitioner, totally off topic somewhat. How did you guys pick the carnival games that would be at the carnival? I'm an avid carnival gamer, and I was just curious.
He means clown.
I was pretty good at a few games, the wiffle ball one, and then all of a sudden.
It disappeared, it went away.
That's right.
That's
I
right.
had a couple threats too, that to cease and don't teach other people how to do it.
Well, how it's determined is up to the upper management, and the owner, Frank. Those are his game, not his games, but he hires the people that have the games. So, and I think it's just his choice on what he decides he wants on his midway. He's pretty picky too, so.
I might be on Frank's list.
His big stuffed animal.
Thank you.
I'm gonna have to ask him about that.
You should name it after him.
A more,
you know.
Yeah.
an actual question here. I'm curious, where do all the concession rides go between the Spree and the 2 weeks later that they arrive at the Sears?
Where are they
You know that
going?
offhand? I'm just curious, like.
You know what? I don't know where they're going, but somewhere not far away.
Yeah,
Okay.
Westland.
All right.
Westland's
It,
got
it,
one probably.
it, is in the area.
Okay, Mr. Morgan?
I do have just a question for you as far as security there. Do you hire, or do you contract with the reserves, Livonia Reserves, or do you have your private security? What exactly do you do to keep the people safe there?
We
that
do
area?
both. We do both. I communicate with the Livonia PD, and they schedule their reserve officers and get them together, and then we supplement that with our private security. We have a company that works with very closely with Wade Shows. It's a off-duty Detroit police that know the midways pretty well, and the area youth, and they're very helpful. They do a great job. They keep us event-free, usually.
Okay.
Or try their best to do that. And Livonia PD is very willing to work with these guys. They all know each other, and they're real happy that we bring them in every year. So it's part of the deal. We let them know they're coming, and they're pleased. So,
Okay, all right, thank you.
sure.
Okay. If there's nothing else, you offered an approving? Ms. Toy offered an
Ms.
approving?
Toy did.
Right.
I just want the carnival games.
Is there any audience comments on item 3? I see none. Okay, we have a consent. You do not have to come back to the next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, item number 4 is a site plan petition.
Thank
coming-
you. I want to thank you on behalf of our club. We really appreciate your support over all these years. We do good stuff here in the community with
It
everything.
works out well for the community because you give most of it back to the community.
We do, absolutely.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 4 is a site plan petition from the Planning Commission, petition 2023-040804, submitted by Haydes Brothers Livonia LLC on behalf of Dairy Queen, requesting approval to redevelop the site, including reconfiguring the parking lot and drive-through facilities, add an outdoor patio area, and remodel the interior and exterior of the restaurant at the former Steak and Shake, 17200 Middlebelt Road, located in the southwest quarter of Section 12. Notification was sent to Hussein Haydes, Sam, and the Haydes Brothers LLC, including James Wilkerson of Wilkerson Architects. Good evening.
Council,
Your name, please?
my name is Alex Hattis. I'm one of the owners.
Okay,
Good evening, Council. Sam Hattis.
okay. So you want to take away the Steak and Shake and put a Dairy Queen there, huh?
That's the plan.
All right, Mr. Toromino, are you going to walk us through this?
I will. I've been working with Alex here now for the past couple of months on this project. He's interested in converting the Steak and Shake into a Dairy Queen. This would be the chill and grill concept, very similar to what you see at Farmington and Sheldon. Alex has the franchise rights for the northern part of Livonia and into other communities. But Steak and Shake, as you'll recall, it's been there about 20 years. It closed in 2019, has remained vacant. It's a fairly large piece of property, but much of it is regulated floodplain area. The buildable portion of the lot site will not be changed, so there will be no expansion of the building nor the parking area that is there today. The building, however, will be completely renovated both on the interior and the exterior. The seating will essentially remain the same. The slight difference there is that they're going to reduce the number of interior seats and add some outdoor patio seats. They'll remove 4 parking spaces, but the parking will still be adequate for the site. The patio will be protected by a wrought iron fencing. The landscaping is in good shape, but they're adding new landscaping around the building and other areas of the site. The drive-through is probably the biggest change. They're gonna reconfigure the area behind the building. So what happens is the drive-through now is pushed further east on the property. This allows better circulation and stacking of the vehicles. Still only one drive-up lane, but what it does is it creates a large landscape island here. Planning Commission looked at this. They wanted additional landscaping provided here. They also wanted the trash enclosure reoriented to be easier to maintain. Other changes, the parking layout is essentially the same. Again, additional landscaping. The exterior of the building will be similar to what the concepts that you see around the metropolitan area and elsewhere. It has a painted brick. Some of the wing walls on the edge of the building will be removed with painting, metal panels added, and the signage, which is consistent with the Dairy Queen trademark. So Planning Commission is recommending approval of the plans as submitted.
Mr. Chair,
Ms. Toy?
if I may, to the petitioner, how does this differ from the one that is on Plymouth Road in Livonia and Farmington, if you're familiar with that, in front of the Sheldon Center complex?
They are very similar, but this is gonna be a little core bigger. If I'm not mistaken, theirs is a core 46. This will be a core 66, which means that it fits about 66 people inside.
Okay, and what's their menu like? I haven't been over there yet.
So Grill and Chill is based off that's the best menu that Dairy Queen has. Offers full food selections from burgers to chicken strips, salads, fries, onion rings, cheese curds, fish sandwiches, seasonal popcorn shrimp.
That's a keto diet, right?
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
very healthy.
Yes, sir.
ice cream part.
Yeah. Now, do you serve sugar-free at all there?
No, just we got daily bars. Fat-free.
Okay. All righty then.
I'll buy you
Okay.
a dilly bar.
Yeah, a dilly bar, that'd be great.
I'll love if you can send your concerns to corporate about that.
No,
Because we
that's
do-
all right, that's all
we do
right.
have
I
that
just,
requested a lot.
I like to harass you here and there. Okay, well, it sounds like you know what you're doing. I mean, and you're gonna take that building and spruce it up for us, right?
Yep.
Oh, you're wonderful. Okay, I'm gonna offer an approving then. If
Thank you.
these brothers look like they're gonna, are you guys really brothers or?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Who's older?
He is.
He is, okay.
But what my mom tells me, we always found them on the doorsteps and we adopted them.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. That's-
Alrighty then. Well, good luck.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for doing
Appreciate
this.
it. Thank you,
Appreciate it.
Council.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Morgan?
Yeah, I was just wondering, I love Dairy Queen. Is there any chance you can get this built by August 1st?
We can break ground by then, probably.
I think, I saw in one of the pictures, there's a giant red spoon. I think he wants that giant red spoon for himself.
Yeah, absolutely.
That'll
Mr.
be
Donovan?
our
I'm
photo
pleased
booth.
to have you here in Livonia. I think that's great. I love it.
Thank you. Looking forward to working with the community.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for identifying this location. It's been vacant for a number of years now, and you drive by and it's just a big eyesore. So I know there's been a lot of conversation and interest in the property because it is a nice restaurant property. I mean, if you're running a restaurant, it is an ideal location, and I was happy to see you add some of that outdoor seating. It kind of reminds me of a restaurant in Livonia called Luigi's, and they have kind of the outdoor seating right up front, similar to what you do with the nice black iron rod out there, some with Black Label in Livonia as well. So there's a few locations that this looks pretty similar. Question to you is the entrances, there's one main one off of Middlebelt, if I understand correctly, and then that side one. Are those
Correct.
directional? You can enter and exit, or are you gonna choose to have one enter and one exit, or how are you gonna work that
There
out?
is gonna be an enter-exit,
Okay.
two-way.
Okay, two-way entrance. And then I'd just like to note that I always appreciate when petitioners bring us a new rehab plan and they fix their dumpster enclosure. It's pretty messy back there. And from my understanding, looking at the plans, it will be consistent material with the building you're doing outside.
That's correct.
Great. Thank you very much again for being here, and thanks, Mr. President.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you.
Mr. McCullough?
Thank you, Council President. Through the chair to the petitioner, well, just to start off, thank you. Honestly, this building has been an eyesore. And, just when the news started kind of getting out that Dairy Queen was going to be hitting that, I mean, I've heard a lot of praise. I think, as my colleague, Mr. Morgan says, get this thing open. I think you do very well. It's definitely a blighted area. The question I do have, and I know our wonderful Planning Commission probably literally went over it a lot, is the one on Farmington in Plymouth. It's got the unfaced brick, that block look. It almost looks unfinished. The renderings here look really good. I'm assuming that the red is almost a metal panel, is that right?
That is correct.
And then the other side, you're just gonna be basically painting the current brick that's on the facade right now for the Shake.
That is correct.
I keep saying Shake Shack, it's Shake and Steak.
Steak and shake.
Yeah. So this is obviously not getting into specific colors, but you are gonna be offsetting it with that kind of a darker gray.
Correct. It has to match the renderings, what corporate
All right.
requires.
I know that looks great. I just, when you look at the one, it almost looks like it's just missing something. And, I thought that with Frost, maybe we're waiting, but then we kind of had that unfinished block look. So this looks great. Again, that was the only questions I have. I wish you the best. Get this thing going. Let's get some ice cream rolling on
We
Middlebelt.
will.
Thank you.
Again, Council.
Mr. Donovan?
Thank you, Mr. President. That brought up a good question to Mr. Tormina. I know after the project is approved, we don't have a lot of say-so, but in the site plan process, we can dictate colors, I kind of already know the answer, but we can dictate colors to an extent, right? And certain brick material and exterior facade materials.
On waiver petitions, you probably have greater flexibility and discretion in requiring those changes. Not so much with site plans, but for waiver petitions, certainly.
Thank you, Mr. Tormina. Thanks, Mr. President.
Okay. Anybody from the audience object to ice cream and the Dairy Queen and? Okay. Nobody has any comments on item number 4. You have a motion for consent. You do not have to come back to the next meeting. You're all but assured to be approved, okay?
Thank you, Council.
Thank you very much.
Best
We
of
wish
luck.
you the best.
Thank you again.
Thank you for
Appreciate it.
everyone's time. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. 5 is the reappointment of Pat Crandall to the Livonia Economic Development Corporation from the Office of the Mayor to a 3-year term ending June 7th of 2029. Mr. Crandall, welcome.
Good evening. Thank you, Council.
Is there somebody from the, Mark?
I'll be happy to, this is the reappointment of Patrick Crandall, who has served on the Economic Development Corporation since 2017. As you know, he was also a member of the Board of Review between 2020 and 2023. Mr. Crandall brings a great deal of credentials to the commission and has the support of the administration for another 3-year term. Thank you.
Ms. Toy?
I would like to offer an approving for Mr. Crandall. He's certainly been through the gamut of different spots in the city, and I appreciate your service. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Tormina and Mr. Bernier, I'm just noting that the agenda, as much as I like Pat, it says 3-year term which will expire on June 7th of 2029. So we might want to make sure that says 2026, I would presume.
It might be a couple leap years.
I don't want to extend your sentence without giving you an opportunity to get
Appreciate
away
that.
here. So we have an approving
Yeah, with the
on
26,
consent.
yeah.
Is there any audience comment on Mr. Crandall's reappointment? I see none. Pat, thank you for continuing. I hope you're doing well in Lansing
It's
during the
fun.
day, that is.
It's a very fun job. All right, thank you very much.
Take care, sir. Number 6 is the reappointment of Sam Caramagno to the Livonia Planning Commission from the mayor for a 3-year term expiring on June 9th of 2026. Good evening, Sam. And is somebody from the administration presenting this?
I can handle these as well.
Mr. Tormina?
Mr. Caramagno, as you know, has been involved in city commissions and boards for a long time. He served on the Zoning Board of Appeals from 2024, or excuse me, from 2016. That is a typo, but I believe he was on that board for several years, maybe 2 or 3 years, and then on the Planning Commission since 2016. And Sam is a great contributor to everything that we do, every Tuesday night, just about.
Okay. Council?
That's true.
Ms. Toy?
Well, this is really hard. Could we go both ways on him? No. Sam has just been an outstanding person in his family, and he does a terrific job. There's nothing more we can say about that, so. And, you know, he's a fellow member of the Italian American Club, which is probably one of the most important attributes he has. So, I'm going to ask for a resounding approving for Mr. Carmango, please.
Thank you very much.
Is there anything else you'd like to say, Mr. Caramagno?
No, other than I appreciate serving the city in this capacity. It's, gives me something to do on Tuesday nights, and I truly enjoy it.
Well, I think we all appreciate, as you're witnessing tonight, that we get to joke around with petitioners after you've all done the hard work. So we appreciate that, and to your colleagues who are going to be coming up next. Sam's also the newly appointed chair of the Livonia Spree. So as the Livonia Observer states recently, that he is probably the busiest person in Livonia right now. So good luck with that.
Thank you very much. We are busy. If you're listening and watching, we'll take more volunteers all the time. So thank you very much for mentioning that.
Thank you, sir. Any audience comments on item 6? I see none. We'll move on to 7. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you very much.
That's the reappointment of Glenn Long to the Livonia Planning Commission from the mayor for a 3-year term expiring on June 9th of 2026. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Mark?
Again, Mr. Long is another valued member of the commission who currently serves on the local officers compensation commission. He's been doing that since 2007, and on the planning commission since 2015.
Mr. McCullough?
Thank you, Council President. I'd be happy to offer an approving on consent. Mr. Long also wears a ton of different hats, along with helping Livonia Civic Arenas as well. Tireless volunteer to the city, and it's appreciated. Thank you for everything you do.
Thank you.
Is there anything you'd like to say, sir?
No, I'm looking forward to another 3 years of it. It's a good way to spend my Tuesday nights. Especially since I'm not coaching anymore. It keeps me, probably if I don't do something, my family's probably gonna rebel, want me out of the house.
And you're a Catholic Central grad, correct?
1986.
So,
I started there when I was 4. Graduated really early.
Good.
So.
Yeah, that's good. All right, well, it's always good to have a shamrock around. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Do we have approving on consent? Any audience comments? I see none. You're all set. Thank you, sir. Item number 8 is a reappointment of Peter Ventura to the Livonia Planning Commission from the mayor for a 3-year term expiring on June 9th of 2026. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Council.
Mark?
And last but not least, Mr. Ventura has served on the commission since 2016. Actually, all three gentlemen this evening were appointed within a 6-month span, so they've worked together now for a number of years. And Peter, again, is I'm very blessed to have the commission that I have to work with.
Mr. Chair.
Ms. Toy?
Mr. Ventura, another outstanding resident, been here forever, his family, I remember his father. I'm old enough to remember your father, and great man, great family, and he represents us well in anything Pete does, so thank you, Pete, for all your service. Appreciate it.
You served with him on council, didn't you?
No, I did not. Not with his dad, I didn't, no. They were term limited, or whatever, I believe, right?
Right.
Yeah, yep, I came in after the term limit, yeah.
Is there anything you'd like to say, sir?
I'm honored to have been reappointed by the mayor and look forward to serving another term at the pleasure of the council and joining my colleagues for another 3 years, having something to do on Tuesday night.
Thank you, Pete. We appreciate everything you do.
Thank you all.
Okay, we have an approving on consent on 8 as well. We'll move on to 9. That's a request for approval of the 2023 CDBG Annual Action Plan for 23 and 24 Community Development Block Grants. That's the annual plan and budget and request to approve and hold harmless contracts between the City of Livonia and First Step, comma, Fair Housing Center of Metropolitan Detroit, comma, Wayne Metropolitan Community Action Agency, comma, Cruise Clinic, comma, Hagera Programs, Inc., comma, Stony Brook Counseling Associates, PLCC, and the Collaborative Health Center coming to us from the Livonia Housing Commission in connection with operation of a domestic violence victim assistance program for the purpose of providing fair housing and for mental health counseling programs to provide for through the Community Development Block Grant programs for the years 2023 and 2024.
Good evening, council members. I'm here to present our annual action plan for the Community Development Block Grant Program for our 2023-24 program year, which will be beginning on July 1st. So this year we're receiving $321,042 in program funds from the federal government, and then we'll have $411,000 estimated in our potential unprogrammed funds. So our total funding for our 2023-24 program year is going to be $732,042. So we're kind of continuing with the same activities that we've been doing this past year. So continuing with our rehab programs, our acquisition of tax foreclosed properties, as well as our public service activities such as our senior transit, our mental health counseling, First Step, utility assistance, and our small business grants. So any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Mr. Chair.
Ms. Toy?
If I may, to the petitioner, it's been a long time you've been with us here in the city and the wonderful work you do. I've had a couple friends go through your First Step program. That is outstanding. And without you guys, I don't know where those two people would be right now. And they continued their lives and went on and were successful. But honestly, just fabulous things you do, and you deserve every penny and cent you get. And thank you from the bottom of my heart, and
Thank you.
I know many others, for all the work you do and all the services you provide that go unsung. Not many people know what goes on with you guys, and it's an amazing thing that you do. And so, Mr. Chair, with that, I'd like to offer an approving on consent.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comment from the council? Mr. Donovan?
Thank you, Mr. President. I always appreciate you. Thanks, both of you, for being here tonight. Thanks for all the hard work you both do. Question, just looking at the budget, and we've recently talked a lot about the senior transportation, and looking at this, if I'm understanding correctly, it went from 35,000 to 25,000. Did I read that correctly? And if so, why is the decrease of 10 grand?
That supplements the wages for the drivers that one of the drivers, I believe, is for And we decreased it because it wasn't reaching the full budget that we had budgeted for it previously. But now that we're doing the wages, we might do, we will more than likely do a amendment to increase it back up. So, yeah. For
Okay, so
prior years, it wasn't.
So you're saying prior years you had it budgeted for 35, you never spent that?
Actually, it was 46,000.
46. So you weren't getting it at 46, so now you want to decrease it to 25,000, but you anticipate that it'll go back up.
Yes.
You'd file an amendment essentially.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm.
If we see the need for it, right now, we're getting ready to go to PRC to increase their wages.
Yeah.
And once more drivers start coming on, more than likely we'll have to do an amendment to
Well, I'm
increase
happy
the
to see
budget.
that you guys are going to the PRC because they deserve it, and the hard work you and your department does, you can't get anything done if we're not paying the people the right amount of money over there. So happy to hear that, and thank you for answering my question.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks, Mr.
You're
President.
Anybody else from the council? Any audience comments on item number 9? We have an approving for consent. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
Nice night. Item number 10 is a request to purchase Duo multi-factor authentication security with contract pricing from Information Systems with people-driven technology from budgeted funds. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Council. This item is to provide the city multi-factor authentication on our network using Duo. Most people are familiar with this type of technology when logging into their bank accounts or other secure systems. Multi-factor authentication provides another layer of security protection, making it much more difficult for an account to be compromised. And city employees will be able to use a mobile device, key fob, or telephone call to verify their identity to log into city systems. We're also eligible for a RAP grant of up to $10,000 towards this through our city insurer, MMRMA, and we are purchasing through people-driven technology. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Casey. Mr. McCullough?
Thank you, Council President. I'd be happy to offer an approving on consent. Everything looks in order. I did want to make sure that you added maintenance costs for my colleague, Ms. Toy, because this is definitely going to probably
We'll have a
mess your
personal
staff
tutorial
up.
for you.
You might have to hire another person altogether, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, the legacy cost on this could be a while, so.
Yeah, it's true.
So we have an approving,
I was saving that joke all night, too.
we have an approving on 10. That's a consent. Any audience comments on 10? I see none. And the next one is yours as well, Casey, correct?
Yes, this is an annual renewal of our GIS, or Geographic Information System, software maintenance. This provides mapping functionality to several city departments, including engineering, DPW, planning, assessing, inspection, and fire, as well as several mapping applications on our city website. The total cost is $23,045.97 and is accounted for in budgeted funds.
Mr. Morgan?
Yeah, I'll offer approving on consent.
Okay. Any comment from the audience on 11? See none. Thank you very much, Casey.
Thank you.
Item 12 is a request to adjust the water and sewer consumption rates, also the industrial surcharge rate and industrial waste control charge from the Public Works Division to become effective July 1st of 2023. Good evening.
Good evening, Council. Yep, I'm here for our proposed 2023-24 water rate. Before we get into like the driving factors for the rate this year, I do want to remind everyone to discuss our goal when we set this rate, and that is to be revenue neutral. So we know what that is, and for those who don't, it just means we take a look at the next year and we gather all our costs from our suppliers and our own capital costs, and we add that all up, and then we try to set our rate to be exactly meet those costs. So revenue neutral, meaning our revenue exactly meets our expense. So this year, we have a proposed rate in front of you, and when we build this rate out, we do a lot of analytics, but one of the things that we focus in on is how is the rate going to impact our average resident or average household. And this year, with a rate increase, that came out to be 4.96%. Some of the biggest driver for that is GLWA, where that's where we purchase our water from, and that increased 7% today, or this year. So Wayne County's rates are not in, which is very typical when we're setting the rates, so we again have to, every year, we have estimated, and this year we have set that estimate at 4%. So with that, if you have any questions?
Mr. Chair.
Ms. Toy.
If I may, I studied this issue a lot.
Yes.
You probably heard my name, I'm sure. My concern is this, every year we get an increase, and there's good reason, I hear what you're saying. But when's the last time we didn't have an increase? You know, do you know it all, for Livonia anyhow?
It's been a while since we've had, I don't have that information in front of me, but it has been a while since. But, you know, we are in an environment of rising costs, and we have a very large water system to maintain, and a lot of capital costs that go into that. So we're not immune to inflation and things like that, so the prices do rise. You know, most of that is passed on through our wholesalers, where we buy our water in Wayne County, where, you know, they take the sewage away.
No, and I understand a lot of that. I just like to sit on this council, and I got a couple more years yet, so you come back in a couple of years and not give us any kind of a rate increase.
I would love that.
Love to see that.
I would love
Seriously,
that.
I mean, it's been a
understand.
lot of years, and I think we've pitched in a lot of money, and we read in the newspaper other places that aren't pitching in their fair share. So I don't want to go on about that, but it is a sensitive issue for me, and it is for a lot of folks that live here as well. So you do a great system as far as the cleanliness of our water and all the kinds of things you do. A lot of the money needs to be spent on infrastructure. I'm sure you still have those wood systems going down there and delivering water to us, because there's a lot of water main breaks here and there. So, I mean, I don't want to go on and on, but I'm just saying, I'd like to see that, at least in the next couple of years, when I'm still here.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you.
So when we say capital expenditures, just to be clear for everybody watching at home,
Yeah,
we are directly responsible for maintaining the water system as it lies here in the city of Livonia.
that's correct.
So this cost is not just the water that we are physically receiving, but it's the whole system that transports the water as well.
That's correct.
And once it crosses Livonia's border with other communities, all those pipes and all the infrastructure and all the work used to maintain it falls on our consumers to take care of, right?
Correct.
Okay. We just got to be clear about that, because people say, you know, we're surrounded by water, why does the water cost money? And it's not just the water itself, it's
It's
the
gotta get here.
transportation and the delivery of the water. And, you know, that's probably I don't know if I'd say the majority, you'd probably know better, but that's a good chunk of the money, correct?
Yes, yep. And, you know, before you turn on your faucet, that system has to be ready and waiting for you, right? So to deliver that clean and readily available water. So we sure feel it when a water main break happens and we're without water, right?
And in terms of that line of questioning there, we are currently in the process of building a water tower, correct? Or exploring the ability to build a water tower?
Yes, that is Jacob. That's
Well, I
for
mean,
his wheelhouse. in
Right,
terms
and
of
I don't want to
that,
jump
so-
the gun here, but that is something that, along the lines of Ms. Toy, that may seriously affect the future rising of water costs and the amount of money we pay out for the actual water. Mr. Rushlow?
Yes, good evening. Jacob Rushlow, Assistant Director of Public Works. Thanks for the question. But yeah, we are currently still exploring that option of constructing a water tower here in the city of Livonia. That would be another asset that we would own and maintain as a part of our public water distribution system. That process we're going through is really right now in two stages. One is some very, very preliminary design work, along with coordination with the Great Lakes Water Authority to make sure when we're doing our draw and filling the tank and all that, that they can provide us with the water that we need. There are some other communities that have systems already, Northville, Plymouth, Farmington Hills, that do connect to the same line we'd be drawing from. So there's a little bit of coordination just to make sure we're not overtaxing that system all at the same time. So we're going through those steps right now, and we are in those design stages, and we should know more here in the coming months.
Well, and again, just to make this very simple for the people watching at home, we pay different amounts for the water depending on when we receive it. And that's why a water tower is effective, because we could fill it up in these off-peak hours where the water cost us less.
Right.
And thereby, we can put that savings onto the consumers, the Livonia residents as well, right?
Yep, that's correct. The two big driving factors on what we get our rate from Great Lakes Water Authority is in our contract that we set with them every 3 years is what's called the max day number, the maximum amount of water we draw into Livonia on the max day of the year, sometime when it's hot and dry in July, typically, and then also peak hour, which is like usually for us in Livonia, it's about 6 p.m. Also on that hottest day of the year when we're pulling in the most water at the most rate during a 1 hour period. Their system that delivers water to everyone has to be able to handle those demands, right? It's not planned for the average day, it's planned for those max days. So the higher we are on the peak hour max day, the more we pay. If we have a water tower, we can shave that peak hour demand and supplement the draw of water from the water tower, which would help us reduce our rate, help us reduce our consumption from the GLWA system, and lower our costs a little bit.
Mr. McCullough?
Thank you, Council President. Right now, I don't think we have a motion on the table, do we?
We do not.
I'd be happy to offer an approving on consent. Through the chair to Mr. Rushlow, kind of just piggybacking on the water tower. Right now, I have had the benefit of kind of being part of the owner's rep team in Northville, and it's a $6 million water tower. If some of you guys have seen it, it's on the old Syke property on 7 Mile, and we're estimating a return on investment in 4 to 5 years for an ROI, and then obviously offsetting costs. So I think that would be an incredible, I know you're looking into it, especially with water resources and any extra funding that is currently there. I think it would be a great addition, and I think a lot of people in the city would support that. Thank you.
We'll put that on regular, and we'll move on to Mr. Donovic.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thanks, Mr. Rushlow, and both of you for being here this evening. Since we're talking about the water tower, I would just like to make sure that you, when you're doing your calculations, to double check with the Jolly household. I heard they use a lot of water, so he takes long showers. So make sure when you're creating that water tower, you factor that in. On a more serious note, I know we've spoken a lot about GLWA tonight. Are we still paying them? Can you explain that dynamic of how the Western Wayne County communities are paying for Highland Park's share? I know there was a lot of litigation back and forth, so can one of you explain how the city of Livonia is factoring into that this year?
Yeah, and I can assure you that through our rate charges meetings that Great Lakes Water does as a part of their outreach with member communities like ourselves here in Livonia, they have assured us we are not paying a dime into any costs that are owed to the system by the Highland Park system.
Okay, so moving forward, the city of Livonia is no longer paying Highland Park's share. Now, at one point, we were putting it to its side essentially, and moving forward, not doing that.
That is correct.
Great, and then question about I know there's some discussion about capital outlay projects and whatnot, factoring that to our increases. What can you give us an update on the Englewood project? I know it's going on to multiple years now. Is that factoring into this year's increase? Are you expecting any more cost increase this year? I know it's kind of hard to determine what the future is going to be, but any info there?
Yeah, so the Edgewood Sewer Pump Station project is still ongoing. We've been in a holding pattern for quite a while, unfortunately, due to DTE's inability to get out and service the site and finish the connections we need to the electrical system. It's been over a year that we've been waiting on them with to no avail, trying to get them out there. So that kind of sits where it's at right now. The cost to complete that, there's still some cost to do that with abandoning the old sewer, finishing all the restoration on Edgewood Street. There's a couple of manholes that are in temporary pavement that would need to be abandoned when we abandon the old sewer. That's still being used by the subdivision to the north. The new sewer on Edgewood is being used by those residents on Edgewood Street. So there is a little more work to be done. Like I said, we're waiting on our neighbors and friends at DTE to help us out and get that connection for power to the pump station. Regards to other capital projects that you'd asked about, yeah, I mean, we're always looking and planning. Our water system, we have a 20-year CIP that was approved back in 2019. We're currently in year 4, going into year 5 next year of that program. We'll be revamping the next 5 years to put together another concrete plan for what we envision doing out of the 20 years into the next 5, and boiling that down to the most important projects. For next year, we have planned in total, there's about $15 million in water projects that are planned, water and sewer projects that are planned for next year.
Well, thank you to you and DPW and Downward Ref and accounting. I mean, it's a big project to maintain our own water system, and we do a good job of it. I know if you drive down Inkster Road for the last couple of years now, I think there's been a water main on the Redford Township side. There's just always a standing puddle right there because I think the system over in Redford Township just isn't addressed, and it's just been a constant leakage system right there, just water everywhere, and you don't see that happen in Livonia because the people in the water department and DPW and everyone included does such a good job of maintaining really strong and efficient water system. So thank you. It's unfortunate we got to raise the rates, but to her point, it's just, we have to deal with it, so thank you.
Mr. Roraf, or excuse me, Mr. Rushlow, sorry. I don't know if that's a promotion or, I don't know.
No comment.
So what you said there, you said something that's very concerning. We've been waiting on DTE for over a year to finish a project that we've spent $5 million on to complete. That deserves more explanation. I'm not going to put you on the spot. I presume that we're using every possible city avenue to get this done.
Yeah, I mean,
And we have 96,000 people who live here. They can't come out and run lines for us to complete us.
It's been very concerning and frustrating on our end. It's been a challenge. They continue to say they have challenges, of course. They've had, when we finally did get our transformer in, which was one big piece we were waiting on, in February, it was scheduled to be installed on February 23rd. If you remember, February 24th, we had a major ice storm. Knocked down a lot of power, a lot of transformers blew. They were taking transformers from wherever they could find them to do replacements in an emergency. We lost ours. They had to order another one. We waited to get that in. Then we had a big snowstorm that came, and again, we got delayed because that heavy snow did the same thing that the ice storm did, right? So there was constant delays there from when we were finally getting a transformer. They did install the transformer. Now we're waiting on their meter team to come out and do the service connection to get power from the new transformer to the meter at the station and power that up.
And is that scheduled?
I have no schedule for that. I've gotten no response.
So this is the type of thing that I think Ms. Toy can probably attest to. Hopefully you're not, I mean, City Hall has power and authority in regards to pushing back on some of these things. But hopefully you're using our state representatives, our state senators. The woman from our congressional office was here as well. Some of these projects, we can't let these utility companies rule the day in regards to these very important civic projects.
Yep.
So I hope you're taking every avenue and every tool you have in your tool chest to get this done.
Every tool that we think we have at our disposal, we've been using. The mayor's office did send a letter to the district supervisor of that planning division to get this thing moving and get it scheduled. Pretty heavily worded with the issues that we face if it doesn't get done, and the sewer issues that could face us if we don't get that power going. So that was sent. We're still hitting them as much as we can and pinging them with messages, trying to get answers on when they're going to get out there. And I know we're not the only ones. I've talked to communities and electrical contractors and other projects that are getting the same responses from DTE, unfortunately, and it's a very frustrating situation.
Thank you, sir. Well, best of luck for all of us for you to get that done.
Thank you.
Item number 13, or is there audience comment on 12, I should say? I see none. Item 13 is a request for authorization to purchase 2 dump trucks through the Rochester Hills Co-op Award Agreements from the Public Works Division for use by the Roads Department from budgeted funds. Mr. Rushlow.
Thank you once again, Mr. Chair. These 2 dump trucks are both multi-use frontline vehicles used for road maintenance, construction projects, and snow and ice control. The trucks will be purchased through the Rochester Hills Co-op Award Agreement. The trucks will be supplied by Wolverine Freightliner, and upfitting will be completed by Truck and Trailer Specialties. Funds are budgeted in this fiscal year 23 in the Capital Outlay DPW Vehicles Fund. So in order to proceed with this purchase, it's our recommendation that the council authorize the appropriation of funds and an expenditure in the amount of $219,380 to Wolverine Freightliner for these 2 dump trucks, with an additional 8% cost contingency included of $39,198.08 for any unforeseen cost escalations that may face us, and the amount of $270,590 to Truck and Trailer Specialties for the upfitting of these vehicles, for that total amount combined not to exceed $529,168.08. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, so these two trucks will be replacing trucks that have met their life expectancy?
They will, yes. This is not an expansion of the fleet. These are replacement vehicles. I guess I should have mentioned too, and I failed to mention this. These would be 2025 model year vehicles. As the auto and large equipment industry is the situation we've been in the last couple of years, we're about 2 years out from when we order a vehicle until we get delivery of that vehicle and have the upfitting complete. So these are actually 2025 model year vehicles, which is why we have that cost escalation of 8% in there. We experienced that, and we had to come back to council a few months back with some vehicles that were ordered previously when we got hit with a surcharge as quoted from the manufacturer due to challenging global and domestic economic conditions. And we had to pay an additional amount to get those vehicles finished. Unfortunately, that's the situation we're in. So, yeah, these are 2025 vehicles. We would not replace them for 2 years from now. So the two vehicles we would replace would be the two that are identified as the oldest, worst condition, beyond their useful life, ready to be replaced in the fleet. And those would be disposed of through the auction process.
Do we have any idea of a ballpark of what those would bring in? Like ballpark, I mean, we're talking, they might bring in $20,000, they might bring in what?
Yeah,
I know it's hard to
apologize.
say,
I
I'm
don't
not
have
gonna hold
that
you down,
number off the top of my head. I know we've worked through the purchasing department and finance to post those on some public auction sites, and I know we've been successful in doing that with vehicles. I apologize. I do not know the value of those.
That's fair. Okay, any motions from the council? Mr. Morgan?
Actually, I have a question.
Sure.
So these vehicles, does the city have to pay up front for these vehicles, or is it like a down payment, or how does that work? Or do we not pay for them until we receive them?
Correct. Yeah, we're not paying for these until we receive them.
Okay, all right. I would offer an approving for consent then.
Okay, thank you. Public comment, Mr. Martin?
Christopher Martin. Yeah, I just have a question through you. If you could ask Jacob, do these trucks at $250,000 basically when they arrive, do they have some type of tarp or covering, some type of cloth device on the back of them?
Yes, I can answer that. As a part of the upfitting, one of the things that are added with the steel dump body in the back is there is a hydraulic cover, hydraulically up and down cover to hold debris in the back of those vehicles.
Okay. Well, here's the reason I asked that question. Northbound on Farmington, I saw one of our city dump trucks, and there was a great cloud of smoke. When I got up close to it, I had to see. I thought maybe the engine was on its way out, and that was not it. Guy didn't have the tarp down. This was sand that was over the sides, okay? Didn't have it down. That's not the first time. I've seen gravel, once again, tarp's not on the top of the thing. I've seen brush, no tarp, and the tailgate down. So my question, who is actually instructing the drivers? I mean, is it Doug Moore? Who is in charge? You're just here, I would assume, just to do the purchasing of these, get approval for that. Who is in charge of that? It is so simple, but yet it just shows a level of incompetency again. Just a question.
Thank you, sir.
I'm not in favor of this until that gets resolved.
Thank you, sir. We have an approving on the consent agenda for item 13. We'll move on to 14. That's an award of contract from the Department of Public Works for all labor, materials, and equipment to complete the 2023 roof replacement projects in an amount not to exceed $681,853 from budgeted funds. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you once again. The 2023 roof replacement projects include a complete removal of existing asphalt built-up roof systems and replacement with a new single-ply membrane roof system at 4 buildings. Those are Fire Station number 1, Fire Station number 5, Station number 6, and a partial roofing repair and recover at the Senior Center. The bid documents were prepared by the department with the assistance from our architect, Hubbleroth and Clark, who's in the audience tonight. And bid documents were made available publicly on BidNet, Mitten. Bid opening was held on April 11th, and 4 competitive bids were received. Upon a thorough verification of references, the department recommends award of the contract to KJP Roofing. Representative from KJP is also here tonight, as they are the lowest qualified bidder. A copy of their recommendation letter from HRC, a bid tabulation, and the bid proposal has been provided for your consideration. It's our recommendation that council proceed to accept this bid and award a construction contract to KJP Roofing for all labor, materials, and equipment necessary to complete the project in an amount not to exceed $681,853 from budgeted funds.
Sir.
Be happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, and here comes one. What amount of that $681,000 is dedicated to the senior center?
The senior center, which I had mentioned, is a small repair and patch at that roof because there's been so many additions and expansions. There's an older low section. It wouldn't even be a tear off. It's a covering of that. The dollar amount for that is $53,135. I do want to mention too, so that was originally planned and budgeted in 2021. We had HRC again help us with the design of that project. We put it out for bid as a standalone project because that's how we had planned it. That's how it was budgeted. That was in May of 2020, so a year ago from today. We got no bids on the project because it was such a small standalone job. We had received no bids, so we thought, good idea to package it with these other roof replacements, put it in there with the fire stations, and we have a successful bid that includes all 4 buildings. So $53,000 for that repair at the senior center.
Thank you.
Mr. President.
I think Mr. Morgan had the floor first.
Yeah, so this, it all appears to be in order. I would say that I would just offer an approving for consent.
Thank you. Mr. Donovic?
Thank you, Mr. President. Thanks, Mr. Rushlow, and the representatives for HRC and the bidder for being here tonight. I do appreciate that. Question, when DPW takes in these bids and our engineer is helping facilitate the bids, who is contacting for references? I mean, there's so many different roofing companies out there. The way I understand it is either you or the engineer that you work with will call those references and ask past clients, how they did, et cetera. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, so on this one, most of the heavy lift on double checking references both on projects and manufacturers that were included in the specification. That was done by the architects. HRC helped us with that effort, and they authored the recommendation letter that spelled out all the reasons why they were recommending KJP for this project.
Okay, and then is there some sort of warranty that comes? I mean, roofs they're always falling apart. I mean,
Yep.
Do we get some sort of warranty with this
Absolutely, yeah.
contract?
So this single-ply membrane includes a 20-year warranty for this system.
Okay, and that's labor and material. If it starts leaking a year from now, they're gonna come back out and fix it?
That is on the material.
Just material?
Yep. We do have a 1-year labor maintenance guarantee as well.
Great, thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Thanks, Mr. President.
Mr. McCullough?
Thank you, Council President. Through the chair to Mr. Rushlow. So I'm looking at all of the different manufacturers, and it looks like the architect or / engineer is recommending going with the Johns Manfield.
Johns Manville was the base bid that was the basis of the
Is that
design.
what we're going with on this, on everything except the senior center, correct?
Correct.
Do you know how many mil that is?
It's a 60 mil.
It is a 60 mil. The one that, the 60 mil TPO is going to be fine. That's going to give you 20 year probably everything included with it, and especially for flat roofs like that, that is a recommended product. I did see the other one had Rhino Bond, which if you're not familiar with Rhino Bond is pretty awesome because they mechanically adhere it like every 5 feet. So basically with wind, you're not going to have any lift on it, but these are such small roofs that I don't see an issue. The question I do have, and Council President Jolly did bring it up, is the senior center. We got Vision 21. I'm a facilities director by day, and so I hate pushing things. But with Vision 21 potentially coming up in the next 3-4 years, is there any way to, I hate to say put perfume on a pig, but patch the roof, a lot, a tar membrane and just get by? Because with the Vision 21, I mean, I know it's only 60 grand, but it's $60,000.
Yeah, and that's, the repair as we find leaks is what we've been doing for years now. As you know, with those types of roof systems, really the only thing we can do when we find those is dump a bunch of liquid asphalt in there until it seals up the holes and eventually hardens and then patches itself. It's messy, it's very temporary, sometimes it doesn't work very well. This is that kind of question of a gamble. Do we spend the money for $53,000 and do that roof now with that temporary covering and repair, or do we wait the 2, 3, 4 years until we're in a new senior center and take that gamble? Our recommendation was to do this one small portion of that roof with a cover and repair.
But then the other question becomes is the rest of the roof too. You might be chasing leaks that way too.
Yep, absolutely.
Let me just toss this out. Do we have a motion already?
We do.
Can we have that on the regular?
Sure.
And just, I guess, in the next, couple weeks, just ponder that, just
Sure.
because as much as I hate to do it, even with the master plan, if the future of that building, I don't think there is a future for that building if the master plan was to come in fruition. If there was, I would say it would be a great benefit to keep it. It would be something that would provide an amenity and an enhancement to a facility, but I don't know, just ponder that. That's the only thing. Everything else looks great. I think it's wonderful that we're going to go through a TPO, but that senior center, but I will defer to you guys on that. I would just say take another look at it. Thank you.
Okay, any audience comments on item number 14? I see none. We have item 14 on the regular. This will conclude our regular agenda tonight. We'll go back to audience comments for any closing remarks on items not on the agenda tonight. Is there any audience communication? I see none. Is there any closing comments from the council? Ms. Toy?
No, I'm all set. Thank you, though.
With that, good night, Livonia.